everyone, this is the Monongalia County Planning Commission Subdivision Ordinance for major multi-phase subdivision. In this example, we are depicting a major multi-phase subdivision. In the Subdivision Guideline Toolkit and reference videos and PowerPoint presentations, you will see a multi-phase major subdivision referenced as MJP. Staff recommends that all major subdivisions greater than 20 splits are done as phased subdivisions for better localized control over potential problems within the subdivision. This can reduce taxes on underdeveloped later phases. It can also enable a more cost-effective, flexible approach to upfront infrastructure and allow bonds to be more right-sized, as well as flexible, less required infrastructure upfront. Furthermore, it allows the developer the ability to changes in the marketplace that occur over the life of the development. A major multi-phase standard application type is anything over 5 lots or does not otherwise fit an exempt or minor subdivision. It is broken up into distinct phases and does not use a preferred or expedited design. Large developments are usually complex and are encouraged to be executed in phases, especially those over 20 lots. This avoids a lot of risk inherent to the developer and to the MCPC from someone biting off more than they can chew. By right-sizing the phase to what you are able to work on, you can save your assessment rate, right-size your infrastructure so you are not building more than what is necessary, among others. The advantage shown here concerns process. By setting up the phases, you can accelerate completeness review and waiver reviews for each phase. This type of development first requires an overview. Sometimes it's called a master plan. Here, it's called a multi-phase subdivision plan that describes the entire project and all of its phases. For our example, a 20+ acre lot with water and sewer available seeks to be broken up into 2 phases. A standard design would entail 27 lots, 4 cul-de-sacs, and we approximate that it would take 90 to 120 days to review each of the phases with a typical development, which would mean less lots and longer approval time for a standard over a preferred design. In contrast, for expedited review of multi-phase developments that meet preferred design, the overview plan review is nearly the same as a multi-phase standard, and the timeline for this step is only mildly expedited by as much as a couple of weeks. The same incentives apply, like deferred taxing, site management advantages are provided to encourage this phasing. However, for the phases inside of an expedited process, there are tremendous savings in time, number of lots and infrastructure, and management practices. For our example, the preferred development would allow developers to work with the MCPC and create 79 lots with a common green space area for all residents on a large steep hill, which would be very difficult to build on anyways. There would be bike paths as shown in blue, and this development creates another connector to go east or west out of the development, where the DOT could eventually create a connector road allowing for safer access to the subdivision, saving possibly up to 2 weeks out of a 12-week process for the overview plan, and 45 days for the expedited with design of each phase. Remember, we approximate about 90 to 120 days for each phase with a typical development. Thus, with a preferred design, a development gets more lots, shorter approval time. Traffic impact or geotech CAD can be avoided with preferred design, as in this example. For a quick side-by-side comparison, see the Guideline Toolkit for more details. This overview plan must be presented in front of the MCPC. The necessary documents and submissions are shown in Table 6-1. If approved with the expedited process, then the staff can review the individual phases, saving the applicant a lot of time with the process provided that the applicant adheres to the process and does not undertake major changes along the way. If the phase is approved, then with the final approval of that phase and the appropriate documents, the applicant can either sell the lots or begin the process for building structures. See NIFs. Now to the application process. The first step is usually a sketch plan, optional unless for expedited, but strongly recommended for any major, especially those of a first-time applicant. This allows the staff to explain the process and vet the ideas of the applicant before they encounter any significant expenditures like engineering. One of the principal benefits would be staff assistance to determine the allowable number of lots and the most general layout for them. That way an applicant can verify if the lots proposed are buildable from a legal stance, including any necessary appropriate percolation tests for lots not within an area served by water and sewer. It would be a shame to pay for design and engineering and not be able to build anything. Note, there is no time limit for this step. The advantage shown here concerns process. By setting up phases, you can accelerate completeness review and waiver reviews for each phase. This type of development first requires, again, an overview, sometimes called a master plan. Here, called a multi-phase subdivision plan that describes the entire project and all of its phases. The overview plan allows the MCPC to see the overreaching infrastructure and set up and then delegate to the staff if they see fit completeness and waiver reviews as appropriate. Each phase is treated as if it's its own separate major subdivision and should follow the procedure, with the exception of the initial and final review. Nonetheless, the MCPC must review and approve any given phase. If approved, then the applicant can apply for the individual phases with final documents for final approval of that phase, in order so they can either sell the lots or begin the process of building structures. See NIFs. In the standard review, each phase may be reviewed by the MCPC, and the approval process will be managed by the staff. Documents necessary are shown in Table 6-1. After the sketch plan comments have been made and any necessary changes have been made, a concept plan can be submitted. The staff has up to 15 days to review the concept plan. Concept plan evaluation is optional by the MCPC with no time limit. Staff or the MCPC may submit the concept plan to DOH or MUB. This can extend the concept plan review another 15 days. This step is critical for smooth review process because it engages outside entities like DOH, DEP, MUB, the State Fire Marshal if applicable, early so that they are not put in a position to reject the application at the end of a very long process after all of the work and all the engineering have been performed. It also allows the applicant and the MCPC to move forward with reasonable confidence that their review process is consistent with those of the outside entities and they are not forced to guess on their behalf.
During the concept plan step, staff helps the applicant determine the necessary submission schedule for the application and review of the subdivision. The complete submission schedule is summarized in Table 6-1, part of which is excerpted here, i.e., the table shown is part of Table 6-1 of the Monongalia County Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance. It is also shown in the Guidelines and Toolkit. The table references the documents, drawings, and other submissions necessary for a subdivision application. Staff would review this checklist with the applicant before they would start applying. This will enable a smoother process for the applicant.